Well, this is our last morning in Namibia, last day in Namibia, and probably the last time I'll be watching the sunrise over the Okavango River, maybe forever. Probably not though. So it's bittersweet. We've got an exciting journey ahead of us today, crossing two national borders, driving into Botswana, then driving into Zimbabwe to go to Victoria Falls. But also sad to leave this place. Namibia has been a real adventure, and to end with this, you don't get better than that. So it's going to be a tough ask to beat what we've experienced so far, but I think if any place can do it, Vic Falls and Botswana are the two places that can.
We weren't exactly sure what the condition of the road would look like today and how long each border crossing would take, so we packed up as quickly as we could and got an early start, not wasting any time along the way. Today's journey would take us about 540 kilometers in an easterly direction through the entire Caprivi Strip and eventually down into Botswana. We'd then scoot across to Zimbabwe and finish up in Victoria Falls village. We didn't know it yet, but we'd also be crossing into Zambia to visit the iconic Vic Falls from the Zambian side, and then popping back into Zimbabwe before the border closed up for the night. That's a lot of border crossings for one day. A bridge takes us over the now very familiar Okavango River and into the Botswana National Park. The Botswana National Park, formerly the Caprivi Game Park, covers a large section of ground in the Caprivi Strip, and we'd be driving through here for the next few hours. With the risk of animals crossing at any moment, we had to drive slowly and stay alert. When you drive through the Caprivi Strip, you question why would this strip of Namibia exist, because it seems like such a pointless piece of land. Well, the answer to that is actually quite interesting. The Caprivi Strip protrudes 450 kilometers eastwards, bordering Zambia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Angola. I know it looks like it may have been drawn by a child with a bad twitch, but there's actually quite a good story behind this, and it starts in the late 1800s when Germany held its two colonies in southern Africa, Tanzania and Southwest Africa, or modern-day Namibia. Namibia had a problem of having a total of 0 navigable rivers, something that made the transport of goods really difficult back in this era, and they were a little bit jealous of France, Portugal and Great Britain, who all had colonies with navigable rivers. Leo von Caprivi, a German statesman, thought that he was really smart, so he made a deal with Great Britain, offering to give them control of the island of Zanzibar in East Africa in return for access to the Zambezi River, which they believed would be able to connect them to Tanzania and the Indian Ocean, and better connect their colonies. Well, Britain agreed, and the Caprivi Strip was created, terminating in this corner here where the Chobe and Zambezi River meet. But Britain laughed all the way to the bank with this one, because just a few kilometers downriver, unbeknownst to the Germans, stood the mighty Victoria Falls. No boats were going to be going down here anytime soon. We continued along the Trans-Caprivi Highway, eventually leaving the Botswana National Park, and suddenly we had livestock crossing the road instead of wild animals as we began to near the town of Katima Mulilo, or just Katima if you're a local. Okay, so this is our northernmost point of our whole tour. On our left here is the mighty Zambezi River, and just across that is Zambia. So I wish we could see it, but I mean, we will be seeing it later today as well, so it's not a big deal. From Katima, we made a beeline for the Namibia-Botswana border, and we were glad to have made it here in good time on a well-paved tar road. We are just a few kilometers from the Ngoma border, and we'll soon be, hopefully, fingers crossed, entering the country of Botswana. Now, this is going to be very interesting. Namibia used to be under the protection of South Africa for many years, and only gained independence in the 1990s. So the infrastructure in Namibia, I can see a lot of similarities. The road signs, the actual roads themselves, there's a lot of similarities to what I'm used to in South Africa. Now we're going into a country that is totally different, and I don't know what the condition of the road's going to be like. I don't know what the the border police are going to be like. It's an unknown. And then this afternoon we're going to do the same in Zimbabwe. So new experience for me and a new experience for a lot of the guys. But we'll take it as it comes. You've got to be flexible in Africa, and we're going to do our best to be flexible here.
The exit from Namibia was smooth and easy, and we soon found ourselves on a bridge across the iconic Caprivi River with Botswana on the other side. The Caprivi floodplain was teeming with animals, a sign of things to come in Botswana, and as we neared the Botswana border post, a friendly baobab and a grumpy warthog were waiting to welcome us. Welcome to Botswana, hey? A warthog and a baobab.
Thank you.
It's a portal into another country.
Okay, go
Oh
in,
my
Jason.
word.
I'm coming into it now because it's a little bit scary.
Wasps in here.
Oh no. What's in there?
Wasps.
Okay, just wait, stay there for a pic at least.
A quick fridge inspection. We were getting pretty tired of these by now, and we were through. That's one border crossing down, only 3 more to go.
Well, that was surprisingly quick and easy. Everyone here was very friendly. It was quite a different experience to what we had at the Northernmost border when we entered Namibia. So it's quite a pleasant entry into Botswana. And from here on out, well, we've got another border crossing later, obviously, but I think we're going to find a place in Botswana to pull over and reheat some food from yesterday, get some food in our stomachs, and then we'll make our way to the border again. Good stuff.
Our short passage through Botswana would take us through a section of the famous Caprivi National Forest, and although we didn't have time to stop, we did catch some fleeting glimpses of some animals along the way. It was the glimpse of a river valley in front of us, however, that really caught my attention. The towns of Kasane and Kazungula are really unique because they sit right next to the only place on earth where 4 country borders meet at a single point. Namibia sits here on the west with the Caprivi River and Zambezi River meeting to form its most easterly point. Botswana sits here to the southwest. Zambia lies across the Zambezi to the north, and Zimbabwe in the southeast is where we'll be heading next. We'll be coming back through Kasane tomorrow on our way to Tobolo's bush camp. It's one of the tourist hubs for people heading into the Caprivi National Park and is an ideal place to stock up on food. For now though, it's goodbye to Botswana as we arrive at our next border crossing.
Yo guys, Namibia border, easy peasy. Botswana borders, even better. Everything worked well, everything looked smooth and modern and everyone was happy. Zimbabwe, ish. Some corruption going on here, definitely. Some people very grumpy, some people are happy to be working here, so there's a bit of a mixture of both. But just a nightmare getting through the Zimbabwe border. Yeah, it sucks that we have to go through this to get to Vic Falls, but I guess Vic Falls will be worth it, and we'll have to kind of endure the same thing tomorrow, but hopefully leaving the country is a bit easier than entering.
Zimbabwe, with all its incredible beauty, fertile land and friendly people, has had its fair share of problems. Not too many years ago, Zimbabwe was called the breadbasket of Africa, and almost everyone I know who grew up here speaks very fondly of life in old Rhodesia. But it doesn't take an expert to figure out which one of these economies was completely obliterated by a brutal dictator. That's 50 Botswanan pula on the left, 50 Namibian dollars, 50 Zambian kwachas, and 5 billion Zimbabwean dollars. Yep, you heard me right, and you can take a wild guess which one is worth the least. Although the road was in worse condition to what we'd experienced in Namibia and Botswana, it didn't take us long to near the very touristy town of Victoria Falls, and we headed straight to our campsite to check in. Tonight we'd be staying at Victoria Falls Rest Camp, but with plenty of sunlight still remaining, we made the spontaneous decision to do one last border crossing for the day and made a beeline for the Victoria Falls Bridge just down the road to try and see the falls from the Zambian side. So it was back in the bucky, and soon we found ourselves in a parking lot filled with tourists. Now, there are 2 ways to see the iconic Victoria Falls. There's the Zimbabwean side, which we'd be visiting tomorrow, which probably gives a better view of the falls themselves.
And then there's the Zambian side, which provides some unique perspectives of the boiling pot, the Vic Falls bridge, and even allows you to swim in the Zambezi River above the falls. Wanting to make the most of our short time here, we started walking towards the Zambian border, not quite sure of what we were getting ourselves into. We were a little bit concerned that we seemed to be the only tourists at the border post. Everyone else seemed to be a local, but the officers stamped our passports without even looking at them, and any apprehension vanished as we suddenly caught sight of the incredible Vic Falls bridge in front of us.
Well guys, didn't think I'd be doing this today, but we are walking across the old steel Victoria Falls bridge with the Zambezi rapids below us. That is just crazy. So we're kind of in no man's land now, between the Zimbabwe and Zambia borders. This is incredible. Wow. Special moment for sure.
It's an experience enough to see the rapids storming past 128 meters below you, but the mind-blowing part for me is the engineering and logistics behind the construction of this bridge. The Victoria Falls Bridge was built back in 1904 when Zambia and Zimbabwe were still combined as Rhodesia. Cecil Rhodes had the dream of a Cape to Cairo railway and wanted passengers to experience the spray of the Zambezi as they crossed here. The bridge was constructed in England with the stress calculations done by the same engineer behind the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and all the components were then shipped to Mozambique and transported here by train, where everything was assembled. To me, the most amazing part is that when the two parts met in the middle, everything fitted perfectly. Truly incredible that these calculations could be done so flawlessly over a century ago. On the other side of the bridge, it instantly became clear that we were properly in Africa now. Just the other side of the Zambian border, we found the entrance to the park. We could hear the roaring of the falls getting louder and louder, and just around the corner, we were met with one of the most incredible sights we have ever seen.
We've just arrived at the Zambian side of Victoria Falls. We didn't actually think we'd even get to Zambia today, but we arrived early enough and we're like, you know what, let's just take a walk across the bridge. Let's see if we can get across to Zambia. Stamped our passports out, stamped them in, and here we are at Victoria Falls. This is just ridiculous. I can't believe we're actually here.
No words can really describe the scale and the majesty of what we saw this evening. You have to hear the sound and feel the moisture hit your face to truly understand. Victoria Falls is the name that was given to this place to honor Queen Victoria, but the locals know it as Mosi or Tunya, which translates to the smoke that thunders. I think that's a better name if you ask me. Coming from a distance, you see the cloud of mist and hear the roar long before you actually see the waterfall, and it's quite common to see rainbows here all year round, even now during the dry season. This is the largest waterfall on Earth, stretching almost 2 kilometers wide and over 100 meters high. And we'd be lucky enough to see it from the Zambian side and the Zimbabwean side the next day. The park was quite well planned, with plenty of walkways and viewing decks allowing you to experience the falls from different perspectives, and as the light grew more orange with the setting sun, we didn't want to leave. But knowing that we still had to cross the border back to Zimbabwe, we eventually decided to make our way back. Not without a quick stop for a nice cold drink though. What's a trip to Mosi or Tunya without trying Zambia's beer, Mosi? To finish off a great day, a Mosi, which is a Zambian beer. It's even got Vic Falls on it to cool us off. It's not just hot here, but it's also very humid. So we definitely need this before we make the long walk back over the bridge.
I wouldn't mind some news and Russian.
With the sun having set, we made our way back over the bridge, with one last glance over the rails at the rapids below, before getting our passports stamped back into Zimbabwe. We ended the night at a restaurant called the Three Monkeys, where we treated ourselves to crocodile skewers, and the moment our heads hit the pillows back at camp, we were sound asleep. In the next episode, we'll be heading to the Zimbabwean side of Vic Falls and soaking in the views from a different perspective before packing up and making our way back into Botswana, where we'd finally get a chance to let some air out of our tires, switch to 4x4, and head deep into the wilderness of the Caprivi Forest Reserve. Remember to subscribe and stay notified. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.